About this time every year, I get very stern warnings from both my immediate and extended family. John, we need your Christmas list. For some reason, I find making one difficult, and I don't think I'm alone. You see, our families, they don't understand what we do, so this is already quite difficult. And then most of the stuff that we want, pretty expensive. But while I was thinking about what to put on the list, I stopped for a moment, I looked around, and on my desk, there were all kinds of items that might be good candidates for your Amazon or Sweetwater wish list. I think I've come up with a practical holiday gifting guide for the modern day music maker. You might roll your eyes at a few of the items on the list, that's understandable, but this might be the video that you want to pass along to the folks that fill your stockings. First on the list, I gotta unplug it because I'm using it. What is this, you ask? A USB CD player. I'm gonna put all these in the description, maybe on my website. Most of these items, you don't have to get what I recommend. It's just the thought about this particular item. For instance, I can't speak for the quality of Riodas. It works for me. Why a CD player? They don't come in our computers anymore. And twice this week, I have had old clients come to me and say, hey, can you get this off a CD for me? I've had to go get old laptops or old computers. Now, I got the Riodas on the ready. This particular one has USB-C and a USB-A. Second thing on the list, pretty standard device, a straight up shaker. Not too terribly expensive. Instrument hangers. This particular one is for ukulele, violin, small violin, banjos, and dulcimers. So I bought them to put right here and right here. And I don't like to put them up close to me because they resonate. You can see this is a project. I also bought this other one here. This is an actual ukulele mount. It's got parts. It comes with anchors and I think it was made out of wood. I like the wood ones. My face. Yeah, I think there's 2 in this box. If somebody bought me one of those, I think, they know what's up. We are gonna move on to, these are silly. Everybody needs tape. Musicians always selling gear. I got a few pedals I need to sell. I'm always looking for tape. I try to hide this from my kids. You know how many times I've asked for tape. This one, probably a little more pricey, and there are lots of options. This is an iFixit kit, and I go to my iFixit kit all the time. You know, all the necessities. Come in very handy in the studio. There are smaller versions, of course. If you're gonna go real cheap on something like this, probably best to avoid it entirely. But if you're willing to spend like the $50 to $100, there's some good stuff in there. Oh, this is one of my favorite little gadgets. Somehow, I have kept this to myself. I subscribe to the Pomodoro method, I believe I'm saying it right, where you set a time, you focus on one task, and you knock it out. So I'll put it right there, start it for 30 minutes, and it keeps me locked in. If it were up to me, I'd probably have the old school egg timer, but I couldn't find one of those at the time, and this was pretty cheap on Amazon. We get distracted easily, everybody does, especially musicians, so I gotta be careful recommending this one because I don't use it as much as I should, but I do think my Streamdeck is pretty cool. This one has knobs. At one point, I had downloaded a few apps that allowed me to control the volume of my entire system with the knobs, and then I have Spotify volume. I've started doing scripts, Apple scripts. Maybe I'll share my progress on that at some point. The one I spent the most time on broke. But I press that and the script pops up, so I'm trying my absolute best. I'm more of a key command guy, but this looks cool on the desk. There are lots of uses, and it works for everything. And with a little creativity, and especially if you've got a streamer or a Twitcher, something like this would come in handy. This one is a little pricier because of the knobs, but they have cheaper versions with 8 or 16 that will do you just fine. We're moving along. What else? You could buy me... come on. Oh, we're just gonna... Okay, I'll just put it by my face. 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch headphone adapter. I always need 1/8 inch headphone to 1/4 inch. Most professional gear by 1,000. I will find something on Amazon or Sweetwater or something that is an assortment of guitar picks. You need all the different types. Some of you guitar players are gonna be like, oh, I just use one pick. That's just not the way that I work and most producers work. Always looking for different sounds. And this big old fat Jim Dunlop, it's massive, is gonna make a far different sound than this kind of flimsy green one. Oh, that's not terribly flimsy. This black one's kind of flimsy. You know, they all have a different tone. You You're never gonna make anybody upset if you give them a bunch of picks because we're always looking for them. And if we have an excess, we put them in different parts of the house. I was resistant to the AirPod, but now I can't live without it. I go everywhere with these things. Pricey gift, but if they've been good. If this person you're buying for is into cinematography in any way, they like cameras, like making stuff look cool, these lights are fantastic. This is an Aputure MC. Oh, mine's dead. I mostly use just the warm white or the cool light to match whatever I've got going on, but it's also got crazy colors. Magnetized, it's a great little light for, I think they're under $100. When it comes to hard drives, there are 10,000 brands and types and sizes. I have always been a Samsung guy. I don't know why. Especially this new one. It's just something about the way that it feels and it's sturdy. And I got this for a really good price. I mean, we're still talking a couple $100 here. So this is on the pricier side. If you've got a lot of money, you drop one of these in one of your musician friends' stockings, it would go well. You just can't have enough. If they have any interest in making YouTube videos and they wear a black shirt in every video, you cannot have enough lint rollers. There's a lot of us out there though. Oh, you know what? I totally forgot. You need to buy yourself a hat. This is a Somerville Sounds hat. Somerville Sounds is the company that I started, and we make and sell sample libraries. And if you really want to be a hit, you would gift your musician friend some of our sample libraries. We have two types of drums, soft drums and mallet drums. We have a piano called Postfelt, the Elskavon Toolkit, which is this organic synthscape sound generator. And we've got something else coming out really soon that I think you're gonna really like. We have a bunch of free sounds that they can also grab. It's a no-brainer. But yeah, the hat. We also have a shirt. It's in the other room. Let me decide if I want to go get the shirt. But yeah, all they need is a DAW, which is a digital audio workstation. So if there's someone that does anything with the computer and music, they have a DAW. Probably Logic, maybe Cubase, Pro Tools, Reaper. Those are names you may have heard thrown around. That's all you need because all the rest of the software comes with the purchase of our instruments. I think they are incredibly inspiring. And yeah, you can buy them, and it's just a serial code number, so you can share that with them on Christmas Day. These type of gadgets here, this USB-C to USB-A female, most of our computers are USB-C. Most of this stuff is still USB-A. I've got these laying everywhere, and I don't have enough. Over here, some of these things are cheap. This one's not terribly cheap. The StroboStomp HD, fantastic tuner. And the reason why I like it is that it can do sweetened tuning. If you have a pedal steel or other instruments, I didn't know this, but you don't just tune them to the notes. It has to work to itself. And there are sweetened tunings and every, yeah, it's a lot. But this actually does that. And so I'll sit here usually with my pedal steel and have this one on the sweetened tuning that I can adjust, and it puts my pedal steel in tune. Highly recommend the StroboStomp. This one is strange. Been around, you know what I'm doing here. Everybody in a studio situation like this needs a paintbrush with nice thick bristles. One of my very first mentors turned me on to this. It's fantastic for dusting in between knobs, getting all the little cracks and crevices that build up dust, and dust really tears these items apart. So consider a good brush. You know, Walmart, Home Depot. I have been asked the question, how many tambourines do you have? And the answer is always not enough. Because when you're going along in a track, that sound is very different from this little toy here. The discerning musicians out there are like, I could use that for something. And you can use this for something. So this is more of the be-all, end-all. This is the robust guy. This fits in most tracks. But if you've got a little percussive or a little acoustic thing, they can't have enough. I bought this one at a toy store. So when you're out at the mall and you see these kind of little silly pieces of percussion, don't discount them immediately. You know, this little percussion thing, I don't know where I got it, but I use it all the time. It's got a different sound. The sound is long. If you're on a budget, you can't afford the good shaker, chopped onions, emptied out about half. different. Hear that? John. Good idea though. Guitar player or not, if they have a studio, they need a capo. Okay, this is a Kyser. I'll link to one of these. This is what you put on the strings to go up and down the frets to raise the pitch. If they play guitar, they need another one because I need them in all the places. I have a Hohner, I believe it's a Hohner harmonica that I got, and it wasn't cheap. It was like 50 or 60 bucks. It was noticeably better than the cheaper harmonicas that I picked up. At the same time, any harmonica is a good harmonica. The bad tone might actually be a good tone. I promise these are things you're not going to understand if you're not in this world. Sometimes the bad stuff is better than the good stuff. I have a bunch of erasers. If you've got somebody that's been real good, I made this video a few months ago. No, years. It's been years about this rubber bridge guitar. I talk about it all the time on my channel just because it was such a crazy surprise. I cut rubber and put it on the bridge, put flat wound strings on it, and bought this little pickup and wired it in. I talked about the whole thing in the video. It's just got this really interesting modern sound, and some people hate it. Not desirable in 1,000 different ways, but yet it is. I got this at a Guitar Center for 150 bucks and bought all the parts to do the project. So if somebody's handy, share the video and buy them the guitar. And then you can do fun things like buy these cheap erasers, you know, that you get from the grocery store. You shove them underneath the strings and it gets this really dead cool sound. So lots of fun to be had with these little guitars. This Gretsch Jim Dandy has a crazy following on the internet, which I don't know if I completely understand, but people really do love these guitars. Oh yeah, I think every studio needs a tongue drum. I think it has other names to it. I forget what they are. You've all heard it. You know, it's kind of that relaxation. They're set up to basically where you can't play a wrong note. I enjoy playing it from time to time. People who come over to the studio enjoy playing it more than I do. This one was over $100, but you can get some smaller ones that still accomplish the same goal. They don't sound quite as good, but they're still fun to play. Remember back at the beginning of the video where I tried to sell you tape? Just trust me on this one. Maybe you watch this video to figure out what to buy your friend, but you might be interested in making music. And if that's the case, then watch one of these videos down here and learn a little something. Talk soon.